Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 9th annual IEEE GameSIG Game Competition. We're delighted to have you all here online this year instead of at Cal State Fullerton as planned, but we're here and we are live and we still have the same entrance and the same excitement ready to have happening today. So we're looking forward to talking to all of you and showing you some great games. We're going to get started almost right away, but first, a brief note of thanks to our sponsor, MobilityWare, who is helping make this podcast possible, and we're delighted to have them on board. Thank you very much. And also to IEEE OC, which has been a honored sponsor, and we are part of IEEE, so obviously we give them some credit as well, because being part of that organization has been marvelous for us. And the only thing I'm going to say before we get started is that the whole mission of this operation is to help people get jobs, to get skills, to develop their skills, and to do better, learn better about the video game industry. And that's what we're here for. I guarantee you it works. We've had people get hired out of this competition. We're looking forward to seeing what happens this year and seeing what comes up. So with no further ado, I'm just going to let Michael Wolf, the head of SGDA, have a few brief words, and we're going to jump to our first game.
Yeah. So SGDA is glad to have the IEEE GameSIG work with us this year. As sure some of you may know, we were originally planning to merge our events before all of this happened. We're glad that we're able to keep our partnership while transitioning online. So what we're about to do here today is we're about to showcase 10 different student games, and we have a panel of judges who are going to be watching and asking questions accordingly. These are different judges from the industry. We'll introduce our judges.
Actually, we'll do it later because we want to get started.
We want to get started. Yeah, we're running a little bit behind. So, without further ado, we're going to start with we're going to transition into our next game, Cafe Cadabra,
from Chapman University. So, thank you, Chapman.
Go ahead.
Let's go.
All right, here we are with our first game, Cafe Cadabra.
Welcome to Brewville, where you play as a young witch in a magical ghost town. The locations in this town are perfect for finding ingredients for your brand new cafe. You start out with your enthusiastic ghost assistant. To help the cafe gain more attention and local customers, go out and explore the town to collect ingredients. Press tab to see your recipe checklist. These are the ingredients needed to make your first drink. Below your list, you have your inventory, where you can keep track of the items you've collected. While you go on your scavenger hunt, you can look around and explore the beautiful town of Brewville, with its spooky residents and delicious-looking buildings. Right outside of town, you can find a path up the mountains towards Brewville's definitely not haunted mining cave. Here you can mine for fresh organic coffee beans. To mine beans, you have two spells at your disposal. One that destroys a single rock unit and one that destroys multiple. But be careful where you cast your spells, as there are bad beans hidden inside the cave. Bad beans put a curse on you that takes away a bean you've already collected. Luckily, there are special good beans as well, that grant you an extra magic spell for finding it. But those are rare, so keep your eyes peeled. You only get a set number of spells that require time to recharge, so mine wisely. Lucky for us, the mining was a success, and we got our first ingredients. Interact with the friendly ghost folk of Brewville to catch up on the latest news. Some may have dilemmas or riddles for you, and if you answer their questions, they might give you ingredients to help with your shop. After talking to this ghost couple, we got some goods in return. And it looks like the entrance to the park is open now, but we can come back here later. There's more to explore. It looks like we have all the ingredients we need to make our first drink. Go back to the cafe to complete the order. Once you've completed a drink, it will be added to your cafe's menu. Complete more drinks to expand your selection. With every drink you complete, your cafe's popularity increases, which means revamping the look of your cafe to draw in more customers. Besides your cafe and the mines, explore the other various locations of Brewville. Talk to the friendly witch at the potion shop, answer her riddles to win some special elixirs. Have a chat with the proud owner of Brewville's one and only Hexberry Farm. Guess the number of berries he has correctly, and he'll donate his berries to your cafe. Take a stroll in the park. Rumor has it that the giant tree there drops fragrant leaves that are perfect for tea. Walk around the tree to collect the falling leaves. Collect 10 to make 1 tea bag. Try to avoid the dead leaves that'll spoil your tea bags. Run into 3 and it's game over. The tree will only drop its leaves for a certain amount of time, so be quick. Beyond the town is also a mystical forest. Follow the glowing shrooms to find yourself at Brewville's very own broom shop. Take a broom out for a spin among the clouds. The clouds can get a little confusing, so try not to get lost. While you're up there, collect some fresh cream for the shop. The more you explore the town and interact with the residents, the more parts of Brewville you get to see. There's much to see and much to find here in our lovely ghost town, so come stop by for a cup of coffee.
All right.
All right.
That was kind of cool.
That was pretty cool.
Thank you.
Well, let's go and just dive in with a couple of questions right away. I really, first off, a comment. I really liked the visual style is very nice and elegant. It's simple. Obviously, you know, there's some areas that could be polished, but it's good what it is. And what I love the cloud level in particular. What inspired the inclusion of that cloud level? That's a very interesting concept.
I think when we were first developing the ideas for the game, we really wanted a flying mechanic, but we didn't really necessarily want to make it so that we originally wanted it so that eventually sometime in the latter part of the game you would be able to acquire a broom and fly around. But with the current game that we had, we didn't really know how that would work. But we still really wanted to have a fly mechanic, and if you notice, the themes of our ingredients are all cafe ingredients that you mined in nature. So one of our ingredients was cream, and then we kind of just connected cream and clouds together, and then that kind of idea just naturally came to us.
Okay, yeah, because I noticed you don't normally mine coffee beans, but somehow in a game that just works, right?
Mm-hmm. They have a mic on it, right?
What was the rationale behind mining for coffee beans as opposed to shaking them out of a tree?
We thought the entrance of a cave could be shaped like a bean. That one's not particularly done, but yeah, we just thought the entrance could be shaped like a coffee bean, so you could go in, and they're in rocks.
So the logic of the game just works within the logic of the game because it does.
Pretty much. We just wanted to create a fun fantasy world.
So kind of based it
There's nothing wrong with that. So I just find it amusing because that's one of the fun things about games is that they don't necessarily have to make sense as long as the world makes consistent sense within itself. Michael, you have any questions? And any other judges, please pipe up.
Yes, I have a question.
Go.
Hi, this is Curtis Murphy, MobilityWare. I actually loved this game. I love the cuteness of it. It's so adorable. The music, the feel, the timing, everything about the game, I think, really works for what it does. And I wanted to ask a question for the designers of the team. And after that question, I'll have a quick follow-up maybe. What is the core experience that you want the player to have? You have a variety of different mechanics. There's beans, there's navigating, there's quests, there's clouds. What is the core experience that you want the player themselves to have?
I think we wanted to make a game that was more on the relaxing side. Like the mini games, they're like definitely not. Our game is definitely not like mechanic heavy, but we kind of just like wanted to create more of like a relaxing and like cute experience. And then I think our game relies heavily on like dialogue, and of course we had to speed through the dialogue because we didn't want to force people to read it and stuff. But a lot of our like townspeople have very very like witty dialogue, and we want to have a lot of NPCs with like a lot of personality. So it's definitely more based on just overall experiencing the town as like a whole, and like this like kind of weird and like fantasy world that we wanted to provide people.
Awesome.
All right,
Thank you for that. I think you nailed that. From the, I haven't played it, of course. I can only see
Thank
what I
you.
can see, and I just want to say it's very timely because it feels and reminds me very much of Animal Crossing. So, congrats to the team. That's my question.
Yeah, great. Thanks, guys. Unless
Quick
there's any
question,
other
right here.
I want to finish up. What's that? Go ahead.
Quick question. Yeah. So, what was the? I echo your feelings, Curtis, about Animal Crossing. I totally had that vibe when I was watching it, which I think is actually cool. I think that helps sell the game. But what was the reasoning behind having a 2D mining mechanic for the beans and then having a 3D RPG world? It almost felt like that was the only part of it I felt maybe had a disconnect. I think the rest of it was pretty great, but that to me, it kind of felt like I was playing an entirely new game experience where maybe the style should have resonated more with the overall style of the game. What was your reasoning behind that?
I think part of it was honestly due to time constraints, I think, because making it 2D would have changed, or making it 3D would have changed a lot of the art that's required, like like a picking the rock animation and stuff. And we wanted to focus on making sure it worked along with all the other mini games that we had.
Oh, that's cool.
I think there's definitely going to be a lot of polish in terms of like pretty much everything or all the aspects of the game. So I think eventually we would want to make the art a little bit more cohesive, because we kind of have a sizable team. So we're definitely gonna look into the future for like polishing everything, especially like the mechanics of our mini games and like just making everything more cohesive.
Cool. Thank you. Awesome.
Cool, thanks. Well, let's move on. We're going to go to our next game now. Thank you very much, Team Cafe Cadabra. We're going to now go to Catch My Tail from LCAD and UC Irvine.
Okay, transition.
All right, we are now going to look at Catch My Tail from LCAD, that's Laguna College of Art and Design, and UC Irvine. Let's go.
Hello, so this is Catch My Tail. This is a game that I've worked on for my thesis project, and I'm the co-lead on Catch My Tail with the lead of this project, Jamie. We will create a lobby together. This is our lobby, and once we're ready, we will start the game. So here we are starting the game. You can see everyone. So target, first at the start of the game you get a hint. So my target is number 3.
Is there supposed to be audio with this video?
At the start of the game also you get an objective panel that tells you a explicit objective.
This is really, really low.
On accident, so I'll re-enable it in another build.
Can't hear it.
All right, let me check real quick. It's on maximum. Are the team members are in the chat, correct?
Yeah.
They are muted and deafened. They cannot hear us.
Oh, well, let's unmute them or undeafen them.
Oh, we can't do that. They have to do it themselves.
Ah, we can't do it? It's not like some of the other... Is Zach in there? I don't see Zach in there. Oh, there he is. Yes.
Hello?
Hey, Zach,
like-
go ahead and narrate this for us if you would, because we're not getting the audio. So I'd like to hear some narration from you.
Okay. So Catch My Tail is a multiplayer game made in Unity. The core of Catch My Tail is based on psychological warfare. So each player is given a target and a number. Each target or number is unique to each player. So the player, for example, if you get number 0, your target will be number 1. And if you eliminate the wrong target, then you're eliminated from the game. If you eliminate the correct target, then your next target from the target assigned would iterate to the next number in line. The goal of the game is to be the last survivor.
Okay, interesting.
So explain to us what's happening right here.
So right here, each player is trying to eliminate their target. So in the game, there are different phases. The first phase is where you can find your target and hunt them down. There's a hint phase to where you can find hints to know which target you need to find. And there are also items that are around the environment that will help you interact with different abilities for your character. So you can slow the character down, speed them up, gain HP if you take damage.
So whoever kills the wrong player, or eliminates the wrong player, they lose and they go into ghost cam mode.
Are you still there? Because you've gotten really low. Is it your this video?
I hear the video.
The volume on the video is extremely low. You can barely hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why we wanted the narration. Anything else you want to point out?
Yeah, so you can also hide in crates and barrels in the game to get an advantage over other players if you want to run away from your targets quicker, you can hide.
So the other players eliminate each other. So that was the
Okay.
last.
And you can also go in buildings as well.
So that's a general description of
Is this the size of the world, or is it?
Yeah, it's split up into 2 parts. So there's the left side, and then across the bridge is another part of the world.
Got it.
Okay.
Questions? Any judges? You want to go? If not,
Yeah,
ahead.
just a quick question. You know, when I saw the initial cover art for the game when the game launched, you know, I was really looking forward to seeing that kind of a style. But I think when the game launched, you know, everything looked a little bit different. Was there a choice to not really follow the style of the cover art of the game, or is it just time constraints, or what's your thoughts on that?
We actually lost our art lead about 3 weeks ago, so we had to come up with a solution of what style we wanted to go with.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
a lot of the models were substance painted. So we promoted one of our artists to lead, and we used that same art style within the world that it has now.
Gotcha.
But our vision is to create this casual and cute aesthetic in a village with these animal characters.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to seeing that art style when that image pops up I think I get really excited. But I think I think there needs to be a little bit more work on that. But overall, good work, guys.
Thank you.
So my question is, you've got an elimination type game. How does this differentiate, in your mind, from other games in the similar genre? Similar style. It's obviously not the exact genre.
So our differentiator of Catch My Tail is the psychological warfare component. That's what separates our game apart from others. Without that, it would just be a regular process of elimination game. So we really focused on the core of what that game loop would be and try to keep the core down, because we had a lot of additional mechanics that we had to cut for the scope of the project to turn in for our thesis. So we focused on the core, and that's what sets us apart from the other competitors.
So how does it work in practice? How is a psych war attack different than something in World of Warcraft or any of the other games that are out there?
So there are other games that are out there, like Murderous Pursuits, similar to the Assassin's Creed style game. It's different because if you eliminate the wrong target, then you are eliminated from the entire game. And if you eliminate the right target, then you need to find who your target is. And it's based off of the number system. So if there are 8 players in the game, each target would have their own unique number and target to find. Once the last 2 survivors are left, they go into a duel. So that's the last chance to eliminate the target.
Okay, I can see that.
Zach, I wondered.
Go on.
Yeah, I wondered, Zach, if you could talk a little bit about the how you iterated this game and this experience through playtesting. So we can see sort of this final state here, and I'm curious to know. Yes, you might have art teams cut. Yes, you cut, and even still along the way, I want to know how your team then play tested this game and how that helped you to iterate toward the final product that you have today.
So we iterated quite a lot. First, we started with AI bots. So we tested the core mechanic with AI bots first, with gray box level design using Pro Builder, and really getting that feel for how the psychological warfare mechanic worked. And then we integrated it into multiplayer, which uses Photon Engine. So we've gone through a bunch of iterative processes to get to where the core worked with AI bots and with the multiplayer setup with our players.
Thank you.
I think that's it for our time.
Yeah, I think we're basically up on time. Thank you very much. We're good. Let's go ahead and transition to the prep card for our next in the list, which is going to be Fugue from LCAD.
All right.
So stand by. We're getting that queued up. Let's jam. This is Fugue from the Laguna College of Art and Design. Let's go.
I'm Brendan Clough, and this is Fugue, an atmospheric puzzle game with a dark and moody style. The player moves using the left joystick and controls the camera using the right. We knew early on that we wanted to make a game without a user interface telling the player exactly what to do and where to go, so we decided to make every button on the gamepad do the one interaction the player has, which is to shout. By holding the shout button, the player can charge the shout, applying more force to the object it touched. The world's filled with these obelisks which turn on or off the color of the obelisk. So in this case, interacting with this will turn on all of the red objects in the world. So when the red layer is turned on, all the red objects appear, and when it's turned off, they disappear. The thing that makes Fugue special is the music composition. So the floating objects on the side of the bridge each have a layer of music attached to it, which you can hear depending on where you are and how your camera's oriented. You can hear it shifting between your ears as you pass different objects. The blue layer is also controlled by the blue obelisks. When blue is on, objects freeze. And when it's off, they thaw. The music in the blue layer has a different feeling than the red layer. And it uses more piano to convey the sense of cold. As the player makes progress, they're getting closer and closer to this bright white light in the sky, which in the dark and environment. The third layer is green. When green's on, all the green objects in the world grow. And when green's off, they shrink. Right now we have about 30 minutes of content, and by the end of our vertical slice, we plan on having close to an hour. You can download the game now on itch, and please fill out the questionnaire and let us know what you think. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jordan Mann, technical designer on Fugue. What you just saw were the introductory segments for the red, blue, and green layers. I want to give you just a quick glimpse of what you can expect from later parts of the game. Objects of each color will behave differently when they come in contact with objects of other colors. As you can see here, blue objects will bounce off of red objects, and the player will need to use this in clever ways in order to make their way forward. While these interactions didn't quite make it into the latest build, players will be able to use growing green objects to rip apart solid red objects, and use the freezing power of blue objects to freeze nearby green objects as well. We have plenty of content in development based on the interactions of these layers, but I don't want to spoil them all now. I hope you'll look forward to the final vertical slice.
All right, let's go to Q&A. Does anybody want to jump in? Otherwise, I will.
Yeah, I'd love to jump in here. I wonder if Brandon or Jordan, I think those are the two team members here, if you guys could talk a little bit. This is a very sort of moody, atmospheric experience, and I wondered if you talked a little bit about the music. I wonder if you could just expand on that. Like, what is it you're going for here with this kind of game?
Yeah, so we intentionally kept the game really simple, and we wanted to eliminate things that might cause unnecessary stress while the player is going through, because our target market is really more people who like ASMR, and they're looking for a more relaxing experience. So we want to create these kind of moments where there's a bunch of music swirling around you, and you kind of can just sit there for a moment and take it in.
Can you expand on that? Sorry, ASMR. Not everyone will know what that means.
So ASMR is gaining a lot of popularity lately. It's these kind of relaxing sensory kind of textural sounds that give people this stimulation in their back of their neck and their heads. Just kind of relaxing sounds, and it's pretty popular.
So then do you think that your game then captures this? That's kind of like what you're after with the play as well?
Yeah, so the play is supposed to be more just kind of passive, simple puzzles that they can hopefully just learn as they go through. We really just didn't want to make it too hard or too interruptive. There's not really too much information out there that suggests puzzle games for ASMR, but people who like ASMR play all sorts of games. So we're really just trying a lot of things out. It's really experimental at this point.
Thank you.
Quick thing. I first of all, really like what you did here. I love the ASMR approach. First made me think of Faye, if you ever played that. Very, very kind of similar, like with songs and stuff like that, and the audio sensory. But or Journey. Very, very cool, cool experience. Are you guys planning on adding any type of, an action adventure element to it beyond just the auditory kind of passive gameplay? Is there any thought towards that, or is it pretty much like kind of what you see is what you get, just puzzles? And
I don't want to step on Jordan's toes too much.
I can speak on this a little bit.
All right, cool.
So in terms of action, no, not really. We really want to keep that kind of relaxed feel. Adventure, I think we'd like to expand on. We'd like to build out this world a bit more. And we'd like to make the puzzles have a bit more to do with the audio itself. Just kind of get past some technical limitations and some academic restrictions. But yeah, that's kind of the direction that we'd like to take this in the future.
Cool. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of opportunities for like exploration, finding little secret areas that are cool and relaxing and just kind of neat to hang out in.
Yeah, I like the way you guys approach it, especially with the different interactions. That last little tidbit of the video, I could see a lot of expansion possibilities with that. So very, very well done, guys. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I've got is that one of the quotes I always like the best about game design is that a game is a series of interesting decisions. I think that might have been Chris Crawford, actually, but I can never remember for sure. In any case, that's a great philosophy to work from. How do you feel? I mean, obviously, in a builder game or something where you're building objects, it's very easy to define what constitutes an interesting decision. How would you define that in the context of this particular game type experience?
So it wasn't shown off very well in this video. Because I wanted to kind of introduce the mechanics and the general feeling of the game. Later, there'll be more exploration opportunities where when you approach a puzzle from one angle, it'll be totally different from another angle. So one of the high-level design decisions that we made is when you turn red on, that's a global switch. So red on the first island in the tutorial turns red on in the entire world. So in the very end of the game, all those red objects are also on. So if I solve a puzzle by turning red off, blue on, and green on, and then I pass, when I arrive to the other side, red will be off. So that'll change kind of the available information, possibly, that the player has to work with to solve the next puzzle, allowing a little bit more freedom and kind of maybe expression.
All right, our time is up for Q&A. Thank you guys very much. We're going to now transition to our next game. Maze Mischief from Chapman, so stand by while we get ready to transition for that. All right, this is Maze Mischief from Chapman. Looking forward to seeing this. Go, guys.
Maze Mischief is an exciting multiplayer and solo platforming experience that combines high-action gameplay with thought-provoking strategy. Players must navigate through difficult obstacles while paying attention to their opponents to win. Maze Mischief has various levels, obstacles, and characters for players to explore. With levels such as our menacing cave level, extravagant castle level, tranquil forest level, and lastly our captivating dojo level. You can navigate these maps with various characters such as the mischievous goblin, the royal knight, the prideful samurai, the intimidating orc, and finally, the stealthy rogue. Now that we have shown off some characters and levels, let's go on to our gameplay. We have exciting new game modes for players who enjoy both solo and multiplayer experiences. Once the player selects a level, and each player selects a character, they can play our hallmark multiplayer game mode, Versus. Be ready for a battle of mischief in our thrilling new Versus mode. Use obstacles that were specifically customized for each level to create a maze for your opponent to navigate through. Each player will have the opportunity to place different obstacles depending on the level in order to slow down their opponent. Once the obstacles are placed, the players will navigate through their opponent's course with a special twist. They can be shot off. Not only do the players need to be careful of the perilous course in front of them, they must also look out for their opponents above. Each player must think about how they want to approach the course. If the player shoots too early and misses, they must wait a few seconds in order to shoot again. If the player going through the course falls off, you must start at the beginning. So figuring out what your opponent is going to do is essential to winning. Playing with friends is sometimes fun, sometimes frustrating, but if you want a solo experience to test your skills, you can play in our challenging endless mode. Challenge yourself and players online in our solo experience. See how far you can get through navigating our various different levels and obstacles. However, be careful because death approaches. Players need to go fast enough so the wall does not catch them, while also being careful with the obstacles they face. Once you have finished your run, compare your score with people online in our online leaderboards. Maze Mischief is a thrilling experience with various game modes to challenge your skill amongst family, friends, and the world. Challenge your friends in a deadly showdown in our Versus mode, or try Endless mode to test your obstacle navigating skills. We hope you try out Maze Mischief when it comes to PC later this year.
We're muted.
Oh, sorry.
Say again?
Let's start the questions and answers. Anybody want to go?
Yeah, first question. What's the difference between a mage, a knight, an orc? Do they have any player differences is there any ups or downs to choosing any of those different types of characters?
Yeah, right. So the different characters will have different speed and kind of knockback scenarios, as well as health as well. So, if you're hit by, a spike trap and you're an orc, you're going to be able to hit a lot more of those without dying than, per se, a goblin who has less health and is more, faster in general. So just we wanted to add a variety of different play styles that would kind of suit, both newer and more experienced players.
Gotcha. And my other question was, you have the two mazes that you can set up. Are you playing parallel against somebody and you can look over and shoot them, or do they just watch them go and you shoot them while they're going? Wasn't sure if that was two mazes, like I'm running through my maze shooting to the side, or am I watching you and then shooting? How does that work?
Of course. So each player gets to create their own maze of obstacles. So, like we saw in the gameplay demo, each player got to choose, 5 obstacles to place down. And then while one player goes through their enemy's maze, the other player shoots them down. And so each player gets to play on both of the different mazes while trying to knock each other off.
So I'm not trying to do the maze and look over and shoot my opponent on his maze.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Okay. Gotcha. Cool. Good job, guys.
Makes sense. Michael, you have a question?
No.
Okay. I have a question. I'm curious. I mean, this looks to me like American Ninja Warrior meets Versus mode. That seems like a lot of fun. To what extent can I combine obstacles? Because I've got 2 real questions. First off, if I have the obstacle, I have a certain thing. Are there variations on it that I can do? Take that rotating thing and make it slippery, or make it sandpapery, or something like that. Or what kind of variations are available?
Well, we have different variations for each of the different levels, customization and appearance wise, but we're also, thinking of a lot of different possibilities for the future of just having as many prefabs as possible. So, players just have a more varied experience.
And what's to stop me from just putting all the really impossible obstacles in a row?
Well, it's all about game balancing and kind of figuring out what you want. None of the obstacles are, super overpowered to where players will have a total advantage over somebody else. Some kind of favor people who are better at shooting. Like if it's like a narrow pathway and somebody shoots you, you're probably going to fall off. But those are typically easier for the character to navigate through. And so it's all about kind of deciding, based off of the experience of your opponent and kind of your experience as like a shooter.
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you. When this started out, I thought this game was one thing, and then about 2 minutes in, it switched over into, this is actually this significantly sophisticated multiplayer experience. And then, oh no, actually it's an endless runner with speed-based runner sort of thing. So I wondered if you could talk about your design vision. Did these modes get added in? Were they the core of your concept? Like, what's driving you and your team for having this game and then having a whole bunch of different modes and how this game is played?
Of course. So I believe the core experience of the game is the multiplayer mode, but we wanted to give the option to players to, practice in, our endless mode, or, practice in kind of a tutorial type of thing. Because if they want to be able to practice by themselves, I know especially nowadays, it's harder to find people, around you to play games with, because, we're in quarantine. And so we'd love to have the ability to, practice on yourself, and as well as, not just your own personal achievement, you can also upload your scores online and kind of compete in that way as possible. So we wanted to have like a lot of a different variety. So we kind of capture, every individual's interests.
Quick question. So in the endless mode, do the traps get progressively harder as you keep going, or are they always the same? You're just throwing a hopper of the same ones forever and ever.
So there are some traps that are more difficult that do appear more frequently. We can easily adjust that as time goes on, as well as speed increasing. So it's not, the same thing, going for as long as possible.
Yeah, I do like how you have both. You have like kind of like an asynchronous multiplayer and a synchronous. That's nice. It's kind of getting both versions is always good. So good job, guys.
Yeah. We're out of time for this one. Yeah, but thank you very much. We're going to move on to our next game.
All right, No G. Our next game will be No G from Chapman, so we'll get that queued up. All right, we now have No G, also from Chapman University. Looking forward to seeing this one. Let's go.
Welcome to No G, our competitive zero-gravity multiplayer first-person shooter where you never have to aim your crosshair at your opponent. Like any other multiplayer game, the first thing you'll need to do is create your account. It's a simple username, password, and email address to sign up. After we log in, we're brought to our account page. Here you can look at your lifetime stats or jump right into a game. In our main lobby, you can either host your own room or join another player's. I'll create my own and have my friend join me. Here we can change between 2 different maps or close the room to prevent other people from joining. Now that my friend is in here with me, I can start the game. We're immediately thrown into a map with the other player. After 10 seconds, both players will be teleported to their starting positions and the game will start. Instead of having a clipper magazine, your bullets will recharge periodically, up to 3, letting you choose whether you want to let off a burst of 3 shots or plan each shot more precisely. You'll notice that the bullets grow with each bounce. As they increase in size, they also increase in damage, incentivizing players to bounce shots rather than going for the harder, less impactful direct hits. What I just did there was what we call our reorientation. By pressing the D button, I was able to make what was once the ceiling my new forward orientation. Since we're playing in no gravity, we don't have to be constrained with one direction being up and one direction being down. We can make up be whichever direction we want. Now, instead of having to aim directly up and down, which is always more difficult, we can shoot straight ahead like normal. Our movement system is also different than almost all first-person shooter games out there. Instead of using WASD, we only use one button. You can press W to pull yourself in whichever direction you're facing, adding a force in that direction. If you're flying forward in one direction, you'll have to press W a few more times in the opposite direction to come to a stop and change directions. Our maps are also designed around the bouncing bullet mechanic. We needed flat walls that players would be able to calculate bounces off of. The windows were also specifically placed so you're able to see where the player is so you can bounce shots to hit them. The red circle above the player's head was also implemented to incentivize bouncing your shots. Since you can always see it through the walls, you're able to tell almost exactly where in the game your opponent is. You don't have to be able to see them to be able to shoot them. It's still not a full wall hack though. The circle is always above the player's head. If they've reoriented themselves, you won't know which side of the circle the player is on. Instead of having an aim down sights mechanic, we have the red laser you see. When you hold right click, the laser will show you where the bullets will bounce. This becomes very useful when trying to line up tricky shots or if you're just starting out with the game. If you shoot while you have the laser on, there will be an orange laser that stays after you've shot until the bullet is destroyed. We created Nochi to be a fast-paced, high-skill ceiling game, and I think we've accomplished that. With up to 4 players in a room and a variety of new FPS mechanics to work with, each round builds your skill and provides you with a new experience. From everyone on the Nochi team, I'd like to say thank you to the judges and to everyone else safe at home for listening, and I hope you enjoyed our video. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed our video.
Okay,
awesome.
There we go. Anybody want to jump in? I'll take that as a no. I'm just curious.
Bill, you got to give us like at least 3 seconds.
No, I don't want to. No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm just kidding around. Go ahead.
You want to go
Go ahead,
first?
Matt.
Okay. Quick question. So, okay, I does the bullet? How long do the bullets last when they're reflecting off of things? First of all, so if I shoot a blast, like how long does it stay in the level to bounce around?
So the bullets will bounce 3 times and they'll be destroyed on their 4th bounce.
They'll be destroyed on the 4th. Okay, cool. And then, how many times do I have to kill my opponent in order to win the level, or is it just once?
Yeah, each player has 3 lives.
3 lives. Okay, yeah. Cool. Okay, that's all I need.
I wonder what if you could talk a little bit about what inspired this sort of motion. Like I'm reminded of some very older games like Descent and other sorts of games where they manipulate the concept of gravity's gone, you're just moving around, and it's kind of disorienting as a player. I'm just curious, like what inspired this from your perspective? Why?
Right. So the main inspiration for the game was Ender's Game and the whole enemies gate is down thing. I really loved that book, and I really wanted to make a game that like revolved around that concept. And using the single movement, the W, pulling yourself forward in movement was just like something else. I wanted to kind of take some regular FPS mechanics that you're used to, like WASD movement, and turn that around. Also like crosshair placement, having to bounce the bullets first. I just yeah, I liked the idea of an FPS where you're unfamiliar with a lot of the things from
Thank you.
regular
That's really interesting. I thought that was it did actually remind me of Ender's Game, so very clever. With that in mind, explain why you have to reorient. I don't quite understand why you needed to reorient. If you can just kind of move the camera and always be facing in the direction, what difference does it make whether I'm like reorient myself to my current direction?
Right. So when you're like aiming in an FPS game, normally when you have to aim up and down, when you move, like say you're looking up at the ceiling, if you move your mouse to the left in a straight line, it'll rotate your camera around the like the north pole of where you're oriented. So it's really hard to aim when you're like looking up or looking down. So and that's always something I've struggled with. Like if you're like aiming at someone right below you or right above you, it can be really hard to hit those shots precisely. So I like the idea of going along with the no gravity Ender's Game idea. I wanted to be able to like use that and make it so there's no like you won't have that disadvantage. You can always choose where your forward is going to be since the map is so linear and everything. Like all the angles are nice and clean, and you can look at things how you want it to be.
Okay, so I see what you did there, and I want to challenge you as a designer. Did you try and experiment with what if you break that? So what I'm understanding is you're using a first-person controller, the typical sort of like input mapping, and I'm wondering, literally, like if I'm facing this way, then that's the direction that I'm facing. Does that work? Does it not work? I'm just wondering, can that work without reorienting? Because I really love this concept, and I feel like that idea of having to remap yourself breaks what you're doing, right? In Ender's Game, they didn't remap themselves. They're always just facing where they're facing, and they hit W to move.
That is false. The entire concept of Ender's Game is that there is no concept of up and down in space because the lack of gravity allows you to redefine your orientation in whichever direction you want. And that is the concept that defines the enemy's gate is down, and that is the concept that we use to define our reorientation.
Okay, thank you.
Quick question on the site of the game, the laser sight. You said you have to press the other button to activate the laser sight. Since you only have one weapon and it always shoots the same shot and it changes based on how you charge it and shoot it, why not just have the laser on all the time? Just a thought.
That's a good point. We right now it's right click to hold down. It's a hold down to activate it. Like we've discussed the idea of like doing a toggle. Or yeah, we did talk about leaving it on all the time, but once players are more familiar with the game, more familiar with the angles, like how the bullet leaves the gun, we feel like it'll be a lot better, like just not having that visual clutter there.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. And is there any plans for additional weapons, or is it just the one weapon and that's it?
Yeah, in our original plan, we really wanted to have 3 different weapons. Like each weapon has like different fire rates, damage, stuff like that. But while we were making it, making the game, we were having a lot of trouble like just defining or working through making the game actually enjoyable, making the game good positive feedback for the player, making sure the networking was all like smooth and everything. So that like took a backseat to like making the game actually enjoyable and fun with the one gun that we did have.
All right, we need to cut things off because we're out of time for the questions. Thank you very much. Thanks to No G, that was Chapman. The next game up is going to be Soundwave. All right, we now have Soundwave from Chapman University. Let's play the video.
The year is 2099, and you're a hacker for hire attempting to break through digital locks by decoding musical sound waves.
Welcome to the world of Soundwave, a new rotational-based rhythm game made in Unity. Currently, we have 5 unique songs in the game that we have permission to use. Today we will show you gameplay from 2 of those songs. The game can be played with our controller that we created, or a mouse and keyboard. We will show a hand cam of both in this video. Note that our game is best played with our custom controller specifically designed for this game. Soundwave has 2 basic mechanics, the indicator and notes. To move the indicator, either turn the knob on the controller or move your mouse left and right. Soundwave features 2 different types of notes, single notes and hold notes. To hit single notes, simply tap either of the designated hit keys while the indicator is hovering over the note. To hit hold notes, hold down either of the designated hit keys while the note is active and the indicator is hovering over it. Now it's time for some gameplay. First up, Cherry Blossom by Paz. When a song finishes, your AI companion appears to display the results of your performance. Finally, we have Impossible Dream by Cypher. That concludes our gameplay showcase. The team and I would like to thank you for your time and consideration. We hope to see you all feeling the sound and riding the wave once the game is released.
All right, here we go.
Questions?
I have a question.
Go.
The input, I'm a little confused at how the gameplay works. Do I press the button as they appear and hold it when you have those long notes?
Yes, that's exactly how it works. You
Okay.
have to hover over it with the indicator, so that
Mhm.
little triangle thing, you have to hover over where the note would be
Mm.
before you can hit it too. So you have to do both hovering and hitting.
Well, yes, I see that. Now, so what's to keep me from just holding it the whole time?
It doesn't let you.
It doesn't let you. Okay.
Yeah.
So
You can do it for the hold notes, so like the
Uh-huh.
longer notes, but then the single notes require you to tap on the beat.
okay, do you get punished when you miss the beat?
Yes, you lose your combo counter, and that lowers your score overall.
All right. Thank you.
I noticed there wasn't a lot of variation on so you have this arc, right? Like this circular motion, but it kind of just did a slow clockwise beat that went around the whole thing as I'm going. I wasn't like making any dramatic kind of arcs to hit notes from different directions. Did you guys have any plans to do anything a little more complex? Because it seemed like I was basically playing more or less like a Guitar Hero that just slowly kind of went around in an arc, and I'm slowly kind of bouncing between areas of that instead of utilizing that whole circumference you have to kind of do some more dramatic things.
Yeah, so actually we did have plans to make things a lot harder, but that made playtesting very painful for a lot of people. So we focused more on making more of like the introduction tracks just to show people that anyone can play this game. You know, it's very simple. Anyone can pick it up, and then also having it like that to where we could have a 180 hit on the other side shows that it's a game that has a skill ceiling that's very high. So if you wanted to commit to a game like this, you could dump a lot of time into getting good at it.
I think you need to like throw a couple of those, variants in there, even for like a novice, because of the structure of the game, to differentiate yourselves more from a lot of the other rhythm games that are out there. I like the concept, and I think like you said, there's a lot of more you could do with it, especially if you utilize more of that circle. But yeah, good job, guys.
Thank you.
I had a question. I just have to go back. Did you actually build a physical custom controller for this?
Yes, I did. Actually, give me 1 second. I could pull it up if you would like.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, so did you have physical engineers, hardware engineers on your team? Was this something that the team brought? It's just such original and unusual to get physical devices custom created for a game, especially in a student game. So definitely would like you to talk about that a little bit.
No, actually, it was just me. Video really quick. Is that working? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so it is fully 3D printed, pretty much. It is created with an Arduino and 4 key switches, like mechanical keyboard switches, and then a rotary knob encoder. They're all just
That's fantastic. Kudos to that. I don't know how many people were on your team other than you. Are you the only person on the team?
No, I also have Cheryl with me, who's here. She designed. I feel really bad. She actually modeled all the stuff in Maya, and measurements in Maya are kind of painful. So I like to formally apologize to her, actually.
Well, awesome work. Kudos on that. I just have to call out that that's really original and very ambitious for a student project. So nice work on that. One other question I couldn't have is you have 4 buttons on the controller. I only saw purple. Well, it looks purple or magenta or fuchsia or something in that range. Did you intend for there to be different colors and different keys coming down, or is it all like, why do you have 4 buttons, I guess?
Oh, so the other 2 top buttons are like navigating the menu, so like back and confirm. Sorry about that.
Okay, so there really is just the one color.
For now, there is one color, but we do have plans for a local multiplayer that involves colors. So for example, if you wanted to have, you would have like 2 of those indicators, and they would have different colors. And then you would only be able to hit notes of your color. And then if, like, for example, there's a red and a blue indicator, if there was a purple note, you would have to hit it together at the same time.
Okay, interesting. And I wanted to go back then, just end with one thought. This game reminded me of an old game, Tempest, and
yes,
arcade
exactly.
games,
Thank you.
right? So arcade games are no longer a thing. And I think actually that if I were to explore this game, this could be the kind of game that you see in a Dave & Buster's, right? Where you make it fun and simple, and you set it up where 2 people can play at the same time, and you make this really fun sort of rotary experience, and it would be very physical and visceral, and people are sort of having fun, like, fast enough. So kudos on that. Neat idea. Thank you.
Yes, Tempest was actually one of our inspirations. There are actually 16 lanes, which is very similar to how Tempest was. And one of our goals is to have this on like an arcade cabinet of some sort.
All right, cool. I have one more question. We're running out of time here. What's the story on the music? Where did you get that from? Did you license rights to it, or what's the plan on the music?
So for the first track, one of my friends actually created that track. I asked him if he would like to have it on our game, and he was very happy to have it. And then for the other ones, I believe Cheryl has all the information.
So we actually have 5 tracks in the game, and all of them are made by friends of ours who we've asked permission to use for the beta.
Well done.
Move
muted.
on.
You were muted. There.
Sorry,
Yeah, so
we
we're-
are out of time, and now we're going to move on to Spellslingers from Chapman. So give us a second to cue that up, and then we'll get going. This is Spellslingers from Chapman University. We are going, and let's play the video.
I'm Tyler Fitzpatrick, and I'm the director of Spellslingers. Spellslingers is a fast-paced first-person shooter where you play as a wizard cowboy tasked with ridding a ghost town of the undead. At your disposal are a wide variety of spells, such as fire, earth, and water. You can also combine elements to get new combinations. For example, earth and fire makes lava. Combining fire and air makes lightning. Water and air makes ice. Water and earth makes plants, which can then be made stronger with water. And earth and air makes a sandstorm, which can then be set on fire. You can also make a steam cloud with air and water, which can then be electrified with lightning. In total, there are 10 different spells, each with a primary and secondary function. Here come our first zombies. Zombies are pretty weak on their own, but they can be dangerous in large numbers. Enemies that walk through lava are set on fire, while lightning damage stuns them. You can also spawn a rain cloud with water and electrify with lightning to create a thunderstorm. Here we have our next enemy, the Skeleton Marksman. Skeletons are beefier than zombies, and they can shoot you from far away, so watch your head. Did I mention that you could rocket jump with lava? The cactus acts as a turret that shoots needles at your enemies. Watering the cactus increases its fire rate as well. Jumping off of a rock wall right as it's coming out of the ground can launch you into the air as well. Things start to get more claustrophobic as we leave the town and enter the mines. Here we find more new enemies, such as Frank, the giant zombie with a massive health pool. As well as wisps, which are blazing spirits that will set you on fire. All you need to put them out is with a little water. This aloe vera plant will heal you in a pinch. After clearing the mines, we head deeper towards our final challenge.
I'm gonna blast you into the next life!
Introducing Jackson, an evil spellslinger from beyond the grave who's brought with him his undead horde. Jackson has several tricks up his sleeve, such as the ability to summon spectral guns to do his bidding. When Jackson is in a pinch, he'll blind you with a flash before running off to heal himself. It's a little cowardly if you ask me. Finally, after a hard-fought battle, Jackson finally falls.
Go back! I won't!
And that's the end of Spellslingers. At least, for now. Until next time, stay safe, and thanks for watching.
Okie dokie. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and hit the judges' questions.
All right. I'd like to say that looks really awesome. I'm curious as to the input. When you select 2 elements every time you open that menu, or can you just select one? Hello?
You could just select one.
Okay. And then it looks like every combination of of elements has 2 inputs. Is that like left and right click or something? You're muted.
Yeah, that's correct. It's left and right.
Okay. All right. And okay.
Yeah.
That was a question.
Thanks, Michael. I had some questions about this. First off, I thought this was really fully featured for a student game, so kudos to the team on that. The mix of the different spells and the effects and stuff took a lot of time, so well done on that.
Thanks.
I'm sort of inspired to think of this game like a Left 4 Dead or other sorts of zombie killing kind of fast pace, which then immediately takes you into this idea of multiplayer. So I'd like the team to talk a little bit about was that considered? Do you feel like that would work? And what would you do if you were going into a multiplayer experience?
Multiplayer has definitely been in the our wish list for a very long time, but just for the time constraints of getting this done for the class, we just said, okay, let's leave that on the side for now. Let's just get the spellcasting feeling really good and get that fully fleshed out for this this slice of the game.
Yeah, I think that was a wise decision, by the way.
Yeah,
it's very hard. So
yeah.
When you're changing spells, is it just like, do you have to click each one? It looked like you were clicking each one, or is there a quick way to kind of select? Is there like a hotkey or? Is there
Yeah, you press the R and hold the R button to pull up the wheel, and then you do click each one. But you don't have to click just like the little circle. Like it'll just detect if you're in like this quadrant of that circle or this quadrant.
Okay.
So you can do it really fast.
Was that a design choice not to have like a hotkey 1, 2, 3, 4 associated types of spells, or?
Yeah, just to have I guess get more inputs out of like 4 buttons. Because if there's 10 of them, you'd have to be like, okay, let me input 9 over here, all the way over here on the keyboard.
Yeah, or even like a scroll wheel. Was it kind of like quickly go around?
Yeah, and scrolls can take a while. And we definitely we wanted to leave it open so that say if we thought we maybe want to add a 5th element at some point, it would be just another one on the wheel, but it would expand your options to I think 30.
Gotcha.
So you'd get it would as you add more, it would keep it pretty simple.
Cool. Yeah, very clever. Well done. Very well done.
Let's go ahead and I'll just bring up one thing. I think the concept is really interesting. I like the idea of the combos with the spells. That goes to my strategy gamer roots of, you're having interesting combinations and each combination has a different effect. Presumably there's a cost involved or a timing involved or an energy level aspect to them. So that's a really nice gameplay mechanic. I also like the levels. Got some really nice looking levels. I love that underground with the crystals level. Obviously, it's not like done art or something, but I can see the potential in it. It looks good. It's a good idea, and it's going to be a lot of fun to play, I think. Yeah, so those things I saw immediately. Anybody else have comments? We have a minute left in the question period.
Oh, I just want to say I really like the gesture system because it lets you learn the gesture of the spell, like you moving your hand in a specific way, and you can learn that, and you can get better and faster at casting the specific spell that you want to. So kudos.
Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds great. Any other questions? Otherwise, we're done. All right, we are clear. Thank you very much for your time. Good stuff.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
And next up is going to be Stoneheart. So stand by for that. All right, this is Stoneheart from Chapman University. Let's go see the video.
Welcome to the world of Stoneheart. Our game takes place deep within the Mountain of Soul, our hero's long-lost home. The story begins with our dwarf, Colgrim Stoneshaper, returning to this mountain a lifetime after he and his kin were driven from it by a terrible evil. Now, nearing the end of his life, Colgrim just wants to go home one last time. This will not be a safe or simple journey for Colgrim. Since the dwarves abandoned the mountain, the labyrinth of tunnels and caves have fallen into ruin, making it nearly impossible to traverse. Luckily, Colgrim has everything he needs to overcome these obstacles. The mountain itself is made of a mysterious mineral known as living stone. Colgrim's ancestors created tools that harness and manipulate the very essence of living stone, using ornate gauntlets allowing the wearer to perform miraculous tasks, to shape and bend the mountain to their will. With the power of his ancestors, Colgrim can move huge, heavy stones and ascend to new heights or uncover hidden paths. He can also command the stone, using it to clear platforms or move obstacles. But he'll need more than just stone to get around. He can also create powerful tethers that allow him to grapple around the environment and over hazards. In Stoneheart, all of these abilities tie directly into how the player traverses the world, and offers unique puzzles and lore for the player to discover. Littered throughout the caves and hidden nooks and offshoot paths, you can find relics of the lost kingdom of the dwarves, sharing unique pieces of backstory about the society that once was. This won't be easy for Colgrim. He must take on hordes of bandits, savages, and other dangerous creatures that have moved in since its abandonment. Equipped with an enchanted bolt gun, players must fight off these hordes in order to make the mountain safe for his clan to live in once again. Stoneheart is the tale of ancestral belonging. Delve into a forgotten world and reclaim the past. Welcome.
Okay. Are we there? Can you hear us? All right. So, judges, any questions?
First off the bat, nice job on some obvious Zelda influence, which I noticed. But in terms of the attacks for the character, is it just his gun, or can he use other weapons to attack the enemies as well?
So beyond just the crossbow gun, he also has the ability to use and summon like a spectral axe that he can swing and do melee attacks with.
Gotcha. Okay. And maybe I missed it, but what's his ultimate goal? Is it just to kind of, what's the ultimate goal of the game?
So the mountain that he's going back into is a sort of ancestral home of the dwarves that they were run out of. So the goal of the game is him going back in and clearing out the bandits and the creatures that have called this mountain their home, so that the dwarves can come back and reclaim the mountain.
Gotcha. Cool. Nice job, guys.
I wonder if you could explore a bit about how your playtesting went. If you had a chance to play test, did you get anyone off the team to interact with the game, and how did that go?
Yeah, so I'm Jack, the producer, and we thankfully had some of our friends who were able to play test it, and they gave us a lot of feedback on the controller and the controls and how that felt, because we had a lot of different inputs and abilities and things we were doing all at once, and we're trying to optimize for both keyboard and gamepad, and they really helped us flesh out exactly how it should feel. Because you're right, like we have the Zelda like ability where you're able to summon stone, and that was a whole endeavor to try and make that combine with the grappling hook and combine with pushing the rocks. So we were able to really give it a we feel a really comprehensive and complex control scheme.
And how would you iterate on some of that if you were to go forward with this?
So we actually talked about, and we're still discussing how we want to iterate on that. One of our current plans is to actually create a sort of radial ability wheel, because we want to have different abilities that connect to the gauntlet that our character is able to use, and use those all, like the player can use them whenever they want in a radial wheel, almost like Legend of Zelda, where you have a variety of abilities where you're not restricted by like seeing an object or being near an object. You're able to simply use them at will, and it's up to your creativity.
Excellent. Thank you for answering my questions.
Mm-hmm.
I just my question is, in terms of gameplay, usually when you have a game like this, you have different decisions that you can make, and each one has different pluses and minuses. So what are some of the trade-offs that one has to make when choosing what thing to do at a particular time?
Mm-hmm.
So ideally, we're hoping to try to find a good balance between the puzzles and the combat, so that you're not having to do or make the decision to do one or the other at the same time. We want it to sort of allow the player to approach it as you enter into a space that has a puzzle that you have to solve, and through going through that, it'll allow you to progress on into the next space, where you will then encounter your next challenge, whether that be combat or platforming or whatnot.
So if I've got these little stone blocks that are emerging from the walls and I'm conjuring them out of there, is there any limit to my ability to do that? Is there an energy cost to doing that?
Yes, so you can only summon 2 at a time. So if you're trying to platform across a wall or you're trying to get somewhere, then you have to make sure that you're not building too many out at once, or else the one that you're standing on will rescind back into this living stone wall.
Is there anything to do with scoring involved here? So is if I do a certain thing, I get a certain score, and then I could maybe optimize my play. And if I do it 100 times, I could do a speed running sort of thing and do better the next time.
That is something that we've discussed and we've looked at a little bit. We were leaning a little bit more towards making this sort of an action-adventure experience, where you're delving into this mountain, learning more story about it through a combination of items, the environment, and cutscenes, so that it felt a little bit more of an adventure rather than a short burst of puzzles that you have to solve in terms of getting points and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay, time is up for our questions. Thanks very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're going to transition.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to transition here and do The Lost and the Wicked next. Stand by. All right, we have coming up The Lost and the Wicked from first-time entrant to this competition, CSU Monterey Bay. We're so delighted to have you guys with us. Let's see what you did.
The Lost and the Wicked is a top-down shooter with roguelike elements, a unique art style, and original soundtrack. In this game, you find yourself in a strange place with strange creatures and no recollection of who you are or where you came from. As a player, you can explore an open area that will be populated with NPCs. Currently, each NPC has its own short story and can be assigned a drawing to represent themselves. The main game loop is fighting through randomly generated areas to get to the boss. Upon defeating each boss, you uncover their backstory and unlock a new memory of your past. As you become stronger and defeat more bosses, gameplay will become more difficult as new enemies arise and areas designed to challenge the player will be unlocked. One of the more unique mechanics is the ability to use multiple weapons at the same time. Additionally, the player can switch between 3 abilities during combat to cause greater damage or escape risky situations. There are a total of 6 unique bosses, 4 gun types, 25 planned NPCs, and 2 challenge rooms, with more to come in the future. Throughout the game, you are trying to escape this strange world, yet the question still remains, are you lost or are you wicked? Thanks for watching.
Okay.
Awesome job. So many questions. So many.
This is the surreal kind of weird, and I'm into it.
This is seriously surreal and weird. Yeah, go on.
What is the reason the guns? I kind of, first of all, I kind of like how you bullet hell rogue style thing together is kind of what it felt like when I was watching it. What is the reasoning behind the rotating guns? Is it just a visual effect? Does it have any gameplay relevance? You know, do they do more damage in front of me, less damage behind me? You know, that kind of a thing. Is there a reason for the rotation mechanism?
Yeah, so that was kind of like the start of the game. Like it started as like a tech demo to, like, I was just playing around with like a lot of like trick functions and seeing like it would go around. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. I'll add guns to it. And that's kind of like how I go about adding new mechanics to it. I just think like, you know, what's something interesting that I'm doing right now? How can I make it work in the game? And like, does it add to it? And I feel like it adds to like this overall effect of like chaoticness. You know, since like if your gun's like around here and you're aiming down here, then when it's over here, the direction is going to be different, right? Because the gun's going here and it's pointing to wherever you're aiming at. So it's not always going to be pointing to the same place. So you always have to be like kind of moving around and adjusting your aim.
Yeah, it made me felt like when I have like support ships in like Raiden or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other question was the health mechanism that you had on the side. It had 2 meters on it. What were those meters for?
Yeah, so the top meter, the little white one, that was your mana, and that's used like whenever you're using ability, just to like prevent you from constantly like pressing the dodge ability and like not getting hit ever. Like there's a mana part of it, and it just regenerates that. And the other one was just your health, which also shows up on top of the player.
I'm not sure if we saw any of the abilities in the video. What are those abilities?
Yeah, so the abilities are there's a dodging one, and that one might not be like so clear. It might just seem like you got hit or something, but the kill like pans out, or it pans in and then back out whenever you dodge. And there's also the other 2 abilities right now are a shield that shows up, it kind of like wiggles and then shoots towards whatever direction you're aiming at, and also a decoy grenade that the enemies are drawn towards and blows up afterwards.
Okay.
I really wanted to say that I love that you embraced your core in here. You know, this is hardcore. This is twin stick shooter. This is, you know, shoot 'em up and nuclear throne and all of these kinds of things, even going all the way back to like Robotron, right? Is where all these things sort of started. So I really like that element. And then right in the middle, I'm in an RPG walking around a town talking to the people that I just shot. So
Yeah.
can you tell me a little bit more about what the heck is going on in your head and what you
Yeah.
want the player to be having in their head?
So basically, I guess like this goes into the story of the game, and it's what I'm hoping like draws them more towards like the world and kind of like this kind of world building of it. Because the people you are fighting are I guess this might be like giving away like part of the story, but essentially like where you are right now is like where people who are just like taken over by like anger or by like, you know, like people who are like bipolar, like depressed. Like this is like the dark place that you go into. That's kind of like where I was like in my headspace when I was like trying to think of the story and like kind of like what I wanted it to be. So after you defeat each boss, more NPCs get unlocked, and each of those NPCs has a story that you go on, and you read their story, you do like the whole dialogue thing with them, and then at the end, there's like the whole tattooing thing. You give them like a symbol to represent themselves, and this also allows like the player to customize their world, because if you draw like the tattoos on everybody, they're each gonna be like, oh, I know which one that one was. You draw something to represent like their story and like what they are.
Do you see those tattoos then in the levels and in the next areas? When you're fighting those same monsters?
Not in the levels, but you see them again like when you go back to that main like hub area. And I am thinking about like adding kind of like quests for each enemy, but I have to like build that on more before I have that in a like place where I could show it.
Yeah, I would recommend not doing that. That's just my recommendation as a fellow designer looking at this world. You have something right now that feels really true to its core. Even this side tangential piece with the RPG, it feels disconnected, and also it's not. And so it's the way that you explore the story of this concept. And from an indie title, like you look at it, think of this as a student, an indie title, you work through an experience, you have the player go through this experience, and as they're doing it, they get to realize, oh, actually, you know, you're in this deep bad state of life, and this person is, maybe they're working their way out of it, or wherever the story goes. I really like core, and I love to encourage you to just stick with the core, flesh it out, and make it a cohesive full package, and then say, this is my indie product that I'm releasing to the world.
All right, thanks very much. I'm going to have to cut you guys off because we've reached our time limit. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Awesome.
Great. Now we're going to move on to Trash Boy in a few moments here. All right, we now have our 10th and final entrant for the day. This is Trash Boy from Chapman University. Let's see their video.
Hello, and welcome to our dumpster. This is our project Trash Boy. My name is Jess. I'm the team leader and team animator on this project.
My name is Eileen. I'm team producer and level designer.
And I'm Ethan, team programmer and gameplay designer.
And we are the dumpster devs. This game was built completely from scratch. Every element of this game was created by hand by our team of artists, animators, programmers, and of course our musician. There were no outside assets used in the making of this game. So let's talk about our main character, the Trash Boy. As your player character, he's a little chubby raccoon who's doing his best to keep his tummy full in the big city. He's motivated by two things: his primal need to survive and stay out of harm's way, and his stomach. As he moves around and makes decisions, his hunger will slowly grow more ravenous, and he will have to find food to keep continuing on with his journey. The Trash Boy must become the Trash Man.
The core gameplay of this 2D side-scrolling platformer involves running along the street, hiding in boxes, and eating trash. The game is broken up into different platforming levels with incrementing difficulty. Players must race against the clock of their stomach to keep their hunger meter from running out. Trash cans can be found throughout the level to replenish their hunger meter and act as a checkpoint. Differently sized trash also replenishes the hunger meter in differing amounts.
If the hunger meter runs out, the player loses a life and is sent back to their last checkpoint. Losing all their lives means the player restarts the level from the beginning. Lives are unique to each level. If the player is caught by an enemy or hazard, then they will lose a large portion of their hunger meter. To avoid the enemies, the player can hide in boxes, collect a power-up, or get help from his brother to sneak past them. Each level is completed by reaching the open dumpster at the end.
Now, one of our key features that we mentioned is the brother switching. Throughout each level, you may run into obstacles that prevent you from advancing. Whether it be a platform that's just out of reach or a small space you can't fit into, you can call for help from your little raccoon brothers. Simply find the designated switching points to let Reggie take over for a bit. Reggie's small enough to fit into places Trash Boy can't quite fit into. He can also double jump to reach higher platforms. When his job is done, return to the switch points and continue on your journey. Trash Boy is planned to be released for the PC and the Nintendo Switch in the near future, coming soon to a dumpster near you.
All right, that was very charming.
Adorable graphics. What do our judges have to say?
Well, I want to ask a quick clarifying question. You said completely from scratch. Now, by that, do you mean, did you use a game engine like Unity, or?
Yes, we did use Unity.
All right.
Just all the assets and everything.
All the assets and
got
everything, or in the the coding system. So.
Yeah, the coding system. Yes.
Okay. Just checking on that.
Awesome. I really thought this was adorable as well. I wanted to hear you talk a little bit about what differentiates your game here. There's a lot in this that's very similar. And at the same time, I wanted to know from your own perspective, what is it that you were bringing that you really wanted to explore?
I'll go ahead and.
Sorry.
Eileen, what your answer? Yeah.
I just want to say that even though like our game is just a typical 2D side-scrolling game, there is a backstory to our Trash Boy that I think Jess can clear up.
Should I tell the story, or should I kind of explain what makes us unique first, maybe? Like the stealth platforming. Okay, yeah. So the way that I think of this in my head is like baby's first stealth platformer. We like to think of this game as something for younger kids, but something that anyone can play. And we want to kind of really make it feel like you are sneaking around as a little raccoon. We also have the hunger meter, so you are on a time limit. So combining these different mechanics, we wanted to kind of make it unique in that we were adding mechanics to a 2D side-scrolling platformer without it being too off-the-wall crazy.
Awesome. I think you captured that. And my one thought is I just wanted to observe the controls on this look really tight. So from the way the game plays and the movement and the quick reaction and stuff, it looks like it would be really tight and really fun to play. So Thank you.
Is there any difference between the hunger meter when you're playing as the brother?
No difference currently. Currently, they go down in the same way, the same time.
Does it replenish if I switch to my brother? Do I have hunger and then it goes down, or do they both kind of have the same hunger setting?
Ethan, you know this one.
They both have the same hunger setting.
Gotcha. Okay, so they share a stomach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Equally hungry.
Okay.
Are there some foods that'll make me sick?
No, but we did have like food that would harm you as a concept, as an idea, but we have not implemented that. We haven't gone any further with that.
Okay, but it was on the drawing board at some point or another. What about eating too much? Can I eat too much and then hurl or something?
Right now, no. Your stomach is just a nice little pit that all food can go in there.
You can eat to your heart's content.
Yes.
How much content do you have in this game? How many levels?
Currently, we have a tutorial and 2 levels. But we hope to add more, obviously. We're still working on it.
What kind of things do you want to add to it? If you had to say what you want to do next, what are the biggest features you want to incorporate that you haven't already done?
I think the biggest feature we want to add would be more options with the brothers, like having a whole raccoon family, each with their own unique abilities to change up gameplay, and some more enemies to add a variety to the difficulty.
Take place indoors, so you have to sneak around. What our idea currently is a knockoff Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's Louisiana Fried Chicken, and you're sneaking around the restaurant to eat all the scraps that fall on the floor, but not be detected by any of the employees or people eating there.
It might be interesting to add in a component where you leave the other brother. So when you switch to the other brother, he goes away and it has to come back to him to go do stuff, and then come back in order to like unlock a door or open up a section or something like that.
Like the very first introduction of that setting in the gameplay trailer, where you have to use the little boy to hit a button that's too high up for the trash boy to reach. So yeah, we'd definitely love to add more puzzle aspects to the game.
Like it. Awesome.
Thank you.
And I like the idea too of the stomachs, Matt, you hinted at. They might perform differently, right? You're interacting with the world in different ways, and maybe one of them decays really slowly, maybe one of them decays really fast because they move really fast, metabolism or something, so that gives the player, hey, if I'm just walking around, I can have my decay really slow, and if I want to go really fast, I can make that trade-off.
Thank you.
All right, time's up. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And with that, we have concluded the presentation portion of the event. Now it's the fun for the judges, because what happens now is that we go behind the scenes into our judging room, and we look at all the different games that we've seen and pick the prize winners and look at the different categories and see what things we want to do. That takes an unpredictable amount of time. Usually it's at least an hour of our time, because we really debate these things and go into depth about what we're doing. So we're going to go quiet for a little while, and other content is going to be showing up in the stream while we are waiting. So I'll let you explain that.
Yes. So we want to give the judges as much time as possible. So what we're going to be moving on to next is going to be the recruitment panel at 4. We're actually well ahead of schedule. Interesting. Judging results will be announced at 5. So we're going to be taking a bit of a break here. We on site are very tired and need a break. So please join us for our recruitment panel at 4, our recruiters panel at 4, and our results at 5. Thank you.